Hello there, and welcome to the tour of the Liger Infantry Fighting Hover Vehicle. This is the 6th vehicle in my Armoured Fighting Hover Vehicles series of vehicles. My name is Wimperman, and I am the Chief Designer, Chief Builder, Chief Architect, and Chief Dumbass of the Liger IFHV update project. Now, as I usually do before I take you through the updated vehicle, I'm first going to show you the original vehicle. Now, here it is over here, and much like the original APC, the less said about this, the better, I think. So this was the piece of crap that was built before the game was released. So there was no such thing as CPU and no such thing as weights and volumes. Now, the idea of it was supposed to be sort of an arrowhead shape, where the points of the arrowhead, which was split, protected the cockpit. And then these arms were supposed to be protection for infantry coming out. As is these little barricades down here. The idea is the 8 soldiers being carried in here, when they're disembarking the vehicle, had ample protection to fight out at any threats that may have been around. That was the idea, and I like the idea. I just don't like the implementation. As is usual with the original Armoured Fighting Hover Vehicles, I was putting the harvester modules on the front so that you could clear out any trees in the way. I couldn't remember the word tree, really? Seriously? As you can see, the detector used to be a bigger block, but they changed it to that dome, but it used to be a long thing, an antenna. In fact, it's still used as one of the antennas, decorative blocks. Yeah, so, lol. Before I go and show you the updated Liger, I'm going to show you this abandoned concept over here. So, yeah. Now, I used to have a problem where I would hate wasting time. So quite often I would spend like an evening or several hours or 2 days building something, or if it was part of a large something, just doing a small part of it. And then at the end of it, I would quite often not like what I'd done. And I have mentioned this in a couple of other videos. And quite often, because I didn't want that time to be wasted, I would quite often think that'll do and leave it, even though I wasn't happy with it. So I got to this stage of the new Liger, and I thought, rather than doing that and leaving it as I'm not happy with it, I will redo it. So I did, and actually, as we come to look around the new one, you'll see that so in between there and there hasn't actually changed all that much from this. It's these side skirts that hold the thrusters and the hover engines that I made bigger, and they sort of come up to there and do a shape. Yeah, anyway, so, but it was the smaller skirts that kind of look a bit silly on this vehicle. Right, so here is the updated Liger over here. Those of you who don't know, a Liger is a hybrid between a lion and a tiger, specifically a male lion and a female tiger. The offspring is a Liger. I guess that if it was a male tiger and a female lion, just they can't conceive, maybe? I don't know. But that's the idea. And the reason I went with the Liger, even with the original, is just because tiger and lion both felt a bit silly. Although you might argue that Liger is as well, but I kind of like that name as a armored vehicle. Right, so the tour of the Liger then starts with its role and its task equipment. So, as an infantry fighting vehicle, it gets assigned to mechanized infantry units, not only as a form of transport, but also as a force multiplier against hostile infantry and against enemy armor. Now, in order to facilitate that role, it has 4 seats in the back for a fire team of 4 soldiers, and it has some turrets for fighting infantry and others for fighting vehicles. And we'll cover them more when we get to the weaponry. So the next segment then is its propulsion, handling and lift capacity. Okay then, starting with its propulsion, it has 4 medium tier 2 thrusters in all directions on by default. It also has another 4 medium tier 2 thrusters in the forward direction set to max forward acceleration. Hover engines, it has 4 on by default, 1 on each corner. And it also has another 6 set to max lift. You can also see that this vehicle has 4 hover boosters for any jumping needs that you might need. Good English there, Wimp. So, with its 4 default hover engines on, it will lift 81.5 tons in 1G. Now, the vehicle itself weighs 43, so it will definitely operate in 1G with just those 4 on. With all 10 on, it'll then lift 51 tons in 4G. So that's definitely enough to lift itself and some ammo and a few people, I expect. So it'll operate in 4G. And actually, as I'm sure you can guess, these 2 were added once I realized that it wouldn't operate in 4G. I'm sure you can see the symmetry between this arrangement and this arrangement, except I've stretched it a bit for those. Right then, so its handling statistics. So for its maneuverability with max forward acceleration off, it will do 17 meters per second squared acceleration in all directions. With maximum forward acceleration on, wrong one, it'll then do 34 meters per second squared acceleration forward. For its agility, its yaw is 30 degrees per second squared. Its roll is 14 degrees per second. Oh, it's not squared, is it? And its pitch is 7 degrees per second with the max forward acceleration off. With it on, it doesn't change a lot, but it does a little bit, I think. 35, 14, and 7. 35, 14, and 7. 35, 14, and 7. Okay, so it's just the yaw that changes. Right then, so how does it handle? So, with its maximum forward acceleration off, it's a little bit sluggish. With it on... Did that work? Oh, I wish it wouldn't ignore button presses. Yes, it did work. There we go. This is how it handles without pilot mode on. I just crashed into a rock. Am I low? No, I'm not. Okay. And of course you get to see what the view out the front looks like as well. Right, that's the end of that segment. So the next segment then is its power, fuel and air. Now I won't show you too much now because then we'll have less to see when I do the interior layout. But there are 2 shutters here and here that cover up the components. There are 2 large generators on each side, 4 in total. There are 5 large fuel tanks, 3 on this side, 2 on the other. There is also a pentaxid tank on the other side that takes up the third space, or takes up the space that the third fuel tank would. Air, it has 5 oxygen tanks, 3 in the ceiling and 1 underneath each O2 station. It has 2 O2 stations and 1 ventilator. And as I normally do, oh my god, those who know will know. And as I normally do, there are the blue shapes to prove that it is in fact airtight in here. Right, so that's the end of that segment. The next segment then is its weapons, defenses and construction. So its weapons, it comes with 3 Gatling guns, 2 on the front and 1 on the back, covering the door. And they are set to anti-personnel. This is the configuration of my anti-personnel weaponry. Predators and infantry, maybe? Personnel, there we go. Predators and personnel, and it'll also target drones just because you can't tell it not to, but, you know, that's fine as far as I'm concerned. Then it has a plasma turret and a rocket turret that are both set to anti-vehicle. So the configuration of those turrets is such, it'll shoot at the weaponry of hover vehicles. It'll also target drones as well. Just to be clear, by the way, I'm sure you can guess, but just to be clear, just because this is how the turrets come when you spawn the vehicle in, it doesn't mean you cannot change it. You can, of course, set it to target everything and anything. It also has a single Gatling gun in case you want to manually fire at something, especially if the turrets are being dozy as usual. You know, they're too busy targeting the turrets of a base on the other side of the base, and you want to kill a Xerax trooper that's firing rockets at you. At least you can do something there. Defenses-wise, it comes with a shield. And this is the first vehicle in the AFHV's series that actually comes with it. Now, interestingly, or maybe not, maybe it's just my opinion, I did have a play around with bringing this in, so I'm going to give away the CPU now. It is tier 3. I was playing around with bringing it, or saving it as a tier 2 and allowing you to upgrade, and it would have been possible by taking away the shield, the 4 max forward acceleration thrusters, that extra Gatling gun, and I think a couple of the fuel tanks would have needed to come out. And it could have been a upgradable tier 2, but I decided that I didn't want it to be. Not least because when you lift those shutters up inside, it was quite empty in there, and it felt a bit meh. So what am I saying? Defenses. So it comes with a shield. It's also mostly armored. Most of it is combat steel. So most of each side is combat steel, and most of the front is as well. Now, a lot of the top is therefore hardened steel. There's a bit of combat steel protecting the weapons, but most of it is hardened steel. There's also some combat steel underneath the plasma turret, because under there is the core, and the floor is completely hardened steel as well, as is the stuff protecting the hover engines. Right, so anything else? So that defenses is armor and construction is the rest that's not the armor. Yes, I think that's it. Right, so moving on to the next segment then is its resource gathering, production and storage. As is usual with my AFHVs, this will be a fairly quick segment. So resource gathering, it has none. Production, it has none. It doesn't have any constructors on board. And storage is fairly limited. It has 2 1K SU ammo containers, 1 on each side of the driver's seat. It has 3 small cargo boxes, and 2 armor lockers, and a mini fridge at the front. Right, so that's the end of that segment. The next one then is its interior layout and any remaining devices. Right then, so the only way in and out of the interior is the door at the back. There is no other door. Grr. So as you can probably tell, the ramps and the two lights on either side are on a motion sensor, but as usual with ramps, if you dare touch the end of it, they'll retract. Except for when I'm trying to prove that's what they do, and then they won't. Also, the little bobbly things like the lights and the motion sensors, they will get in your way because we are exactly 3 blocks tall. So you can either have to go around or in between them or duck, depending on your preference. So we have 4 seats in the back for soldiers to sit for deployment. As I said, this would be assigned in universe. This would be assigned to a mechanized infantry unit for moving them around. In between the seats, as you can see, is the armor locker and a storage cargo box. In the ceiling is the shield, and the core, the Wi-Fi, and the detector in front of that. Now, under the gun barrel thing is the O2, or at least most of it. In front of the seats is the O2 station and the rest of the O2. Here's the component access shutters. I won't bother showing you the other side because it's basically the same. 2 generators, the CPU extenders, 1 on each side, and the fuel tanks. There's 1 there standing upright, 1 there laying flat. Now, in the other side, this pentaxid tank is instead replaced with another fuel tank. So as you can probably tell, the lighting in here, which is red, is on a motion sensor, but you also have a switch so that you can leave them on even when you get into a seat. Moving forward then, the cockpit seat has 2 HUDs, 2 displays, hollow displays, for showing you the custom toggleables, which I will be getting to next. Covered those? Yeah. Right, so the next segment then is its shortcuts and signals. So starting with the device group shortcuts, and the first one as usual is its propulsion etc. That will turn on the default thrusters and the default hover engines that I showed you in the propulsion segment. The next one down is the max lift, which will turn on all of the other hover engines. Actually, I'm sure I don't need to show you, but just in case. So the max lift will turn on the ones that are now off. Yeah, again, I'm sure you're not stupid. So the max forward acceleration switch will turn on the outboard rear thrusters. Shush. Luckily, there's only 1 ramp on this vehicle. I'm not too worried about it. The next shortcut down is its headlights. Now, this vehicle has 5. Let's turn them on. So the 2 in the middle have a narrower field, and the 2 on the outsides have a wider field. Let's see if we can see it. No, there. No, there. No, there. Oh, it's higher, isn't it? There we go. So the other ones are 70 degrees, and the wider ones are 110. It also has one up here, which is an actual spotlight block. Now, I would like to pretend that this is there just in case the front end takes damage, just to, you know, make sure you still have some light, but actually it's there because I decided that shape on the other side would look cool with the light on top. That's why that's there. So, the next toggleable down is the tail lights. Of course, it has my patented red flares on the back. Now, if you don't like them, you can turn them off, and if you absolutely hate them, you can, of course, multi-tool them off. The last device group toggleable is its ventilator. Now, just in case you haven't seen it in other videos of mine, if you look at the power left when you turn the oxygen off, it doesn't change because although it's not pumping air into the vehicle, the ventilator itself is not off, it's still on. So if you turn the ventilator off here, you will see that the power left does increase. So in case you're in the breathable atmosphere of a planet, or a planet with a breathable atmosphere, that's the correct way around to say it, at least you can say save a bit of power. My God, what is wrong with my words today? Right, moving on then to the custom signals, and the first one as usual is power save. So turning the power save on will turn off the motion sensor for the lights and the ramps here, which is there. It'll also turn off these two light control devices as well. It will turn off the Wi-Fi and the two holo displays. Now, I did originally add 3 of the 4 generators to the power save as well, but I realized that if you have the shield on when you turn power save on, I think it's probably all going to go pop because the one generator would then be trying to power... Oh, do you know what? If it's idle, you would be fine, actually, but if it's charging, it would all explode. I think that's it, actually, for the power save on this vehicle. Yep, I'm pretty sure it is. So the next 3 signals down, I'm sure you can tell, are the weapons. One does the Gatling gun, one does the Gatling turrets, and one does the other 2 turrets that are grouped together. That's so that if you only need to engage a certain type of thing, like if you only need to engage one soldier, for example, or one raptor, then you can turn on just the Gatling gun, for example, and save some power. So that's why I've split them up. Next is the shields. Now, I know full well that you can press... Actually, I don't know if it's defaulted to M. It's M for me, but I don't know if I've changed it to M. But I thought I'd give you the toggleable as well, just for ease of use. And finally then is the closed door switch, as is usual with my vehicles, at least those that have a manual door, because some vehicles do have automatic on a motion sensor door. So if you open the door, walk in, sit in the driver's seat, and then you realize it's open, I didn't want you to have to then get out of the seat and walk back to the door just to close it. So that's... Oh, let's give you a better view. So that switch will close the door, and it will only close it. It won't open it again. Right, so that's the end of that segment. The next and last segment then is its CPU and upgrading. And this one's going to be fairly quick. Its CPU, it is tier 3. It's 29,866. So you've got 100 and a bit to play with. So I don't know what you would do with that, but at least it's under, so it is 100% efficient. Upgrading wise, well, this doesn't have an upgrade path. Like I said, I did kind of play with the idea of making it tier 2 and allowing you to put in the shield if you wanted, but I thought it would be nice to have it come fully upgraded. Now that we're getting further along in the AFHV's series, I thought it'd be nice that they start coming fully upgraded. So it doesn't actually have a inbuilt upgrade path. Now, that would normally be the end of it, but actually, as with the other AFHVs, it does come with a few paint options, which I'm going to cover quickly. So it comes in the desert sand, but it also comes with the option of painting it in this military green. It also has this ice white, or Arctic white actually I'm calling it. And it also has this dark grey. So you can paint it any colour you like. Of course, I'm sure I don't need to explain to you either, but you can replace them as well if you want something different. Right, so I think that's everything, other than, of course, I keep forgetting the docking pads, but, you know, whatever. Right. Oh, and hooray, hooray, I didn't discover a missing texture during this tour, which makes a nice change, to be honest. So there we go. That'll be the end of the tour of the Liger Infantry Fighting Hover Vehicle. I hope you get some use out of it, and hopefully I will see you in another video for a different build. So thank you again, and goodbye.